Welcome to WO5O, Women Over 50 in Body Wisdom and Wellness.
I'm Corrine, and I'm here with my BFF, Eddi, and
Hi.
we are women over 50. And today we're talking about the different styles of yoga. So that's kind of my forte. And yet, Eddi, even though I've been a yoga teacher for 35 years, Eddi's been doing yoga for over 35 years.
Longer than Corinne. And we chatted about how she told me after 2 yoga classes she was going to become a teacher. And she did. And egg in my face. Hey.
So we go in, if you're curious about the different styles of yoga and what's good for you, and you've always wanted to know how to find a yoga class, we go into all of that and more.
Yummy yoga.
Oh, my awareness yoga, I call yummy yoga too. All right. Well, we hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we enjoyed recording it. Oh my gosh.
Oh my. How are you?
There's so much. I just got back from Nova Scotia, and I'm back 6 days, and then I'm going to Canada, Western Canada, to see my family. And I can't even believe this year has flown by so fast.
Yeah, I agree. My week was crazy busy too, but with grandkids, my mom's 88 this week, and family stuff, and finally the summer is here and I'm loving it.
Yeah, there's nothing like. Are you in the Maritimes? Being in Newfoundland, is that part of the Maritimes too? So there's nothing like the Maritimes. Nova Scotia was beautiful. I loved it. It was gorgeous. I don't know if I saw as much. I definitely didn't see as much of it as Newfoundland. I like Newfoundland better, I think.
Yes.
But it was really special. It was different.
Yeah,
we did a big lobster
different.
feast.
Yeah,
we did a big lobster.
An island.
Do you guys have lobster?
Yes, loads of it. Big lobsters.
But only a certain time of year, right? Like July or something, or June maybe.
I heard this beautiful talk. I think you might have sent it to me, as now as you're mentioning lobsters. The guy that spoke and said, did you know that lobsters, to protect themselves from predators, grow a shell? And in order for them to, get bigger and bigger, they actually go under a rock, shed that shell, and come back out and grow another one. And
they
he
grow
goes
out of their shell and they burst through it.
Yeah, and they burst through it. And he said, they're uncomfortable and then they grow. And he goes, unlike humans.
Yeah, the whole metaphor was, that growth can be very uncomfortable, and you have to shed. Sometimes you have to shed the shell, and that's definitely what we've done. I mean, I like to think I get my lessons with feathers rather than bricks over my head, but I certainly got a lot of bricks over my head when I was young. And like I always tell people, it's like unfortunately, we don't really learn much of anything or grow when everything's good.
That's right.
Like we learn our biggest lessons when things are hard. It's just part of, if you even think about working out, your muscles have to the muscle fibers have to break. They're painful. You have to work through the pain, and then you go on to the next level.
Exactly.
And yet it's kind of the opposite, because we live in a culture that is so adverse to discomfort. And yet Colleen's been telling me that for years. It's like we have to change our relationship to pain, because we're so comfortable in this culture. It's like everything's the right temperature all the time. We have the exact food we want all the time. And it was one of the reasons why I love living in India part-time for so many years, is because it's so uncomfortable, and it helps build that discomfort muscle.
Now I understand why Newfoundland is kind of like India, except for the temperature. And we get uncomfortable winters. We get rain, drizzle, fog in June, but yet we get these amazing days like today, and it's 75 to 85 Fahrenheit, which is like 25 to 30 Celsius. I always have to break that down for you.
Yes, I can't remember anymore.
No, it's good. And, we get through the winters, and I love it when Colleen says there's no such thing as being too cold. It's just not wearing the right clothing.
Yeah, no, it's bad clothing. No such thing as bad weather. There's just bad clothing. Yeah, so true. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's
So,
our topic
so,
today?
so I think it's your turn now. I would like to know from you, Miss Yogi, can everyone do yoga?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Can everybody do hot yoga or certain, there's different yoga. So traditionally in India, yoga comes from India. It actually does come from India. The word yoga just means yoke, union. And it came from the yogis in the Himalayas that were literally trying to sit in caves and meditate to find God. And the yoga, their bodies would spontaneously move to make them more comfortable so that they could sit and meditate to find God. So, really, yoga traditionally is a preparation for meditation, and that's why I love both. So, then when Americans and North Americans and Europeans started traveling to India, they discovered the yoga. They brought it back here. Of course, it was changed around. Traditionally, in India, yoga was taught from a master to one student at a time, and it was very specific to that person, how old they were, what their health was, whether they were a man or a woman, boy or a girl. And so, of course, that doesn't work in our culture with, one on one. People can't afford one on one, whatever it is. So that's when you get all these different styles of yoga. So, like, hot yoga was created. Bikram was a very sick young man. He was a boy when he went to study with his teacher. He was like 12 years old. He was very ill, so he was given all these vigorous hot yoga, these exercises to create heat in his body to help with his illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are different styles that came to the West that were taught for specific reasons. So, it's kind of like anything else. There's a lot of great therapists in the world. There's a lot of great naturopaths in the world, but you're not going to be drawn to every one. You just have to find one that you like. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of not so great yoga teachers and not so great therapists and not so great naturopaths too. And you just
Mm-hmm.
have to, go figure, listen to your intuition and go to what you're drawn to. So typically in the West, don't you think people use yoga for a workout?
Yes. And I think yoga, I think we need to kind of reframe it, or because we need to adjust it accordingly to how our bodies handle it. You know what I mean? Like you have to listen to your body. Like there's
Yeah.
certain forms of yoga I don't do anymore. My body just doesn't want to do the handstands, and not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just I like the gentle. I love the yoga we do. You know, the awareness yoga that you teach, and I've done that training with you. But I also like going to hot yoga when the winters are cold here to warm my
Yeah.
spine. And
Right.
I don't overstretch. And I'm probably the oldest in the class, and I'm still okay with that. I just listen to my body, and I
Yeah.
think yoga, stretching, movement. It's really important for any age, and especially as we get older, we have to keep movement daily in our lives,
Yeah. Whatever that is. And if you
whatever that
don't,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have a sedentary lifestyle and you work at an office all day, then, do a yoga class or go to the gym on the way home, something so that you're doing some kind of movement for an hour, minimum an hour every day. Something, if you're at the
Yes.
office all day and then you come home and you cook dinner and you sit down and watch TV, that's what's a sedentary lifestyle is. So yoga
Mhm.
can be one of many things. So I was going to say though, you know, Western people, we're focused on the body. We like to work out. And to me, yoga is more of a work in. So I'm more drawn, it's a preparation for activity. Sorry, it's a preparation for meditation, which meditation is then a preparation for activity. But I have always loved the gentle yoga. Even when I was in my 20s, I started studying. I didn't even know yoga was even standing on a yoga mat or let alone sweating until I had already been doing yoga for 10 years. I walked into a yoga class in LA and it was a Saul David Ray class and all these people were sweating and they were close together and they were forcing and I was like that's not yoga.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was yoga. And you were doing yoga way before I was.
Yeah, I started doing yoga when I lived in Vancouver for a while, and I loved it. And I mean, I was taking training with Eric Schiffman when I moved to Nashville and went out to Mount Eagle. And oh my gosh, it was like so much yoga and different forms. I've done Ashtanga and Iyengar and Hatha. Sounds like a bunch of restaurants now.
That's great. We can go through that and talk about the different styles,
Yeah.
and you can talk about your experience. I remember though, I think you had just come back from one of your yoga workshops, and I'd been at hardcore meditation, right, and done the meditation teacher training, and was all into that with Deepak Chopra and Ayurveda and stuff. And I came over to your house and I said, I told you I was going to go to a yoga teacher training, and you're like, you, like, have you ever even done a yoga class? You said to me.
I know,
I'm
that's
like,
great.
and actually, I had only done two yoga classes in my life when I went to a yoga teacher training. But my teacher at the time, because it was such a unique style, it was called Swarupa Yoga. When we did the interview, I said, I've only ever done two yoga classes in my life, and they're your yoga classes. And she said, that's perfect. She said, I have a really hard time teaching people that are already doing or studying yoga because it's so, the style was very, very unique and very different and opposite. Like if
Mhm.
some people would say it's like a restorative style or yin yoga, the style that I do, the awareness yoga that
Mhm.
came from Swarupa. But it's so not like, and you know, right? Because you've taken my class, and then what was your experience of yin compared to my class, or restorative compared to my
Well,
class?
oh, the biggest difference is with the blankets,
Yeah,
because when you use the blankets, that melting that your body's able to do, and you have so much support, where in yin there's really not that much
there's no
support. Like you're
support.
still
That's right.
using your body,
Yeah.
but with awareness yoga, it is like amazing because you're when you're supported, like wow,
What's our
the
saying, Eddie? Support equals release.
release. Yes.
Yeah.
I almost said ease, but
Oh, I
same
like that
thing.
too. Sounds great.
Support equals ease, release, and it does. And I remember um, when I was doing the teacher training, and you were really being really specific, right? And you came over and you did this minimal adjustment, like barely noticeable. Like if anyone was looking, you wouldn't see it. And then my hip, it was like it came out of the socket, but it didn't. It just did that
It
bump,
dropped.
like that
Yeah.
release. And I
Yeah.
went, holy beep, my whole back released. I mean, I was like, wow, this is great. So I have my stack set up over there, and I come up every day and I do, the magic four, and I do the five rights that you've taught. And, I just get a routine. And then even some days, if I feel like I want that little extra workout, like I might be playing pickleball that evening, I might do extra, downward dogs or plank, or, I
Yeah,
just
stuff
tie it
you've
in.
learned in other classes.
Yes, yes,
And remember, that's
absolutely.
what we started with. I said yoga is the spontaneous movement of the body to make you more comfortable. So you come back from your pickleball and you spontaneously start doing these stretches that look like or feel like some of the yoga that you've done, or maybe not. Maybe there's some that don't feel like other poses that you can name. But that's really what yoga is.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
it's beautiful for anyone to allow your body just to find some ease, every day. We
yeah.
don't. We immediately, some people come home from work and they sit on the couch and flick the TV on, and then we start getting these curves in our neck, and our form is off. And if you look at people who are up into their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and they have done yoga most of their lives, their spines are really amazing. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because I do yoga teacher training too, so I teach people to become yoga teachers. And I actually do teach this in my class too. I'll say, like, you have 32 or 33 vertebra in your spine. It kind of varies in some people. And every single vertebra in your spine moves is supposed to move in like 6 to 8 different directions. Like it each single vertebra is supposed to move in all these directions. Most people it doesn't because it gets locked up. Now, what's the most even more important than that is that every single nerve in your body runs through those vertebra, through your spine, and goes to every single muscle and organ in your body. So that means it's very important that your spine is healthy and able to move, and all your vertebrae are able to move in the different directions. And what happens is, as we get older, is, say we have a pain somewhere, we start favoring the pain and stop moving it. And
Hmm.
it's not in the case like sometimes, if you break something, you definitely have to keep it stable for a while. But in a lot of cases, a more movement, they think if you've ever gone to physical therapist, how uncomfortable it can be. It's like you've got to sometimes move through that pain and keep moving, keep it lubricated and keep it moving. So, yoga gets a bit of a bad rap because they're, just it's kind of like the same as a therapist or whatever. Not all yoga teachers are created equal. So you just search and find what you're comfortable, what's convenient for you, what's close to you, a teacher that you resonate with. The
Hmm.
style I'm talking about that I teach, it's called awareness yoga. I'm the only one, and there's a few people around Nashville that teach it. But Swarupa is the style that I came from. That's another good one. And then Yin, we've mentioned Yin and restorative, and then a Hatha. A Hatha class is going to be pretty straightforward and gentle
Hmm.
for people over 50. That those are kind of be the styles. And then like Eddi said, Eddi's in really good shape, and she's more of an athletic person. She likes a more of a workout. She lives in a climate that can be very cold in the winter, so hot yoga then will be a good choice for you in the wintertime. But I bet you on a day that's 90 degrees you're not drawn to go to hot yoga,
No way. No,
right?
absolutely not. No,
Right.
no, no, no.
So, and then we can talk about Ashtanga. Have you ever taken an Ashtanga class?
Yes, I have.
Isn't it fucking
It,
torture?
yeah, it was pretty painful. And, I've done a lot of different forms of yoga over the years. And I remember doing you challenge yourself when you're younger, like you do the handstands and the shoulder stands and then a headstand. And I tell you, I came out of a headstand and it scared me. Yeah. And I
Well,
never did another.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
not what Ashtanga is. So let's talk,
Oh, Ashtanga.
let's
Oh,
talk.
yeah.
Ashtanga
Yes.
is a certain routine. So we'll
That's the
talk about the
power.
headstand. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that's the
there's a
power
lot of
yoga.
power yogas, but Ashtanga is there's only a certain poses that you do, and it's very repetitive. And Ashtanga was, again, taught to like a 12-year-old boy when he was very healthy, and it was more of a workout type of yoga, and it's a very repetitive.
Hmm.
And so it's for like younger people. If you want to work out, probably people over 50, not a good idea to do
Hmm.
Ashtanga. But if you want to do that instead of doing weights or something, then you might, if you've been doing it your whole life, you might
Hmm.
like that. Now,
And
what
there's
Eddie's talking,
Kundalini yoga.
yeah, there's Kundalini yoga. Have you ever
Mhm.
taken a Kundalini class
I did in Nashville.
in Nashville? I
Hmm.
took what class from one of the main founders of Kundalini, Gurmukh in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And did you like the Kundalini class?
I did, but I think mine was a watered down version.
Yeah, that's the thing is yeah, again the teacher, but
Hmm.
Kundalini was a style that also again is very repetitive. It's about moving the energy. It can be quite
Through breath
powerful.
and the
It's your
breath.
breath, yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of breath, a lot of pranayama, and a lot of repetitive movements to move the stuck energy.
But I
Um,
like using even some Kundalini breathing when we do some of the yoga, with the.
There's Kundalini breathing that's repetitive, but pranayama is should be in all yoga. So pranayama means breathing technique, and
Mhm.
that actually should be in every style of yoga because pranayama, which means prana means breath. So pranayama is great if all yoga teachers teach people how to breathe because everybody needs to breathe more, as you know, right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing when you watch people and some people aren't even breathing? They're like
Yeah,
holding their breath.
yeah, many people don't, or they breathe the opposite, so when you take an in breath, naturally your belly should go out like a balloon breathing. And people listening right now, you can try it right now. Take an in breath, see if your belly goes out. Now, most people, when they think that when their belly comes in, because you think about taking a breath in and filling your chest and bringing your belly in, but that's not the way it is. It's like when you take an in breath, your belly goes out, and when you exhale, your belly goes in like a bellows, just like bellows, right? So you
Mhm.
inhale, everything expands, including your belly, your torso, and you exhale. So that's kind of the proper way to breathe. But a lot of people do breathe opposite. You think about a baby in a crib, they breathe that way too. So, anyways, pranayama, breathing, very good part of yoga.
I
Um,
love one of my favorite breathing exercises you've done, and I had never done it in any yoga class till you taught it, and it's the one where you had the breath coming into different areas of the body, like the upper shoulder and the
Three
rib
part yoga
cage
breath.
and the,
Yeah.
and you found and even into the hips. And I'm going, wow. And when you're really focused on that, holy cow, your body is amazing how good you feel after.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
when you have pain in your body, it's really a lack of consciousness or a lack of breath, a lack of light, a lack of your awareness. So when you do this three-part breathing, learning how to breathe in different parts of your body, it's almost like a meditation, and it's very powerful. So if you're listening to this and you'd like to find a three-part breathing meditation, there's probably one, and I'm actually going to create more meditations in the next week or so and put them up. But on blissed.com, BLISSED.com, which I'll put a link in our notes, I've got I've got a yoga room and a meditation room. And in the yoga room, there's some of the gentle yoga that I'm talking about. And the meditation room, I've got some of these breathing techniques.
And they're great. I send a lot of my patients to that site because there's an alternate nostril breathing technique. There's some really nice yoga poses that are really helpful. So, you get some of these, under your belt, and it's awesome.
Yeah, they're great tools to learn. Like breathing techniques are great before you meditate or instead of meditating. But yeah, we need. I mean, you could talk about that, right? How important oxygen is to the body.
Oh yeah, and we don't get enough in. It's through the breath. It's through dark greens. It's through spirulina and chlorella and chlorophyll, the dark leafy greens, and we don't get enough. And
And like
that's
vigorous
oxygen.
walking or
Yeah.
exercise, we get more oxygen in.
Short sprints, I always recommend, 15 minutes at least of some type of cardio a day just to get
Yeah,
your heart rate up. It
yeah.
doesn't even all have to be at once, but just to get that rate up so you can get out of breath for a minute and
Running up the stairs instead of walking.
exactly.
If you have a
Yep.
stairway, that's what I have to do here because I really don't like cardio.
Well, here in Newfoundland, everything's hilly. So
Everything's cardio, I know.
everything, you go for a walk, you're getting cardio. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, all the hills there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any other styles? So we went over hot yoga, Bikram. Oh, I wanted to address them when you were talking about the headstands and stuff. So when I was in general, all different styles of yoga class might include a headstand, a handstand, different, scorpion poses. I used to love to do the scorpion pose. That was one of my favorites. Cobra, different things, arm balance poses.
Crow.
Again, these crow, yeah, exactly. And the thing that bothers me is that people use that to show off, but and yet it's also a confidence builder. Like if you're young and in shape and so when we're talking about people over 50, if you're in shape and you do regular exercise, then yeah, you can go to a balance class where they're teaching some of these arm poses if you take it easy, if you warm up first. And there's something really empowering about learning to do some of these difficult poses with the right teacher. I you had said it was really scary. Was it the headstand or the handstand that was really scary for you?
The headstand because
The
it was
headstand.
unsupported and it was yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
feel like it was taught properly.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I actually have never done a headstand ever, and I've been teaching yoga for 40 years, so that's interesting. I have
Hmm.
done a couple of handstands. And the headstand, I just haven't worked with anybody that has taught me properly. And also, I have a lot of neck issues, so I didn't want to.
Hmm.
I just was a little nervous unless I had proper instruction. But I
Hmm.
was with my teacher Saul, and I was helping him doing a teacher training. And when he found out I'd never done actually a handstand, I first did in my teacher training with him, and then he made me do another one. I've only done a couple. And after the first one, and he taught it properly, it was all safe and everything against the wall, and he taught it amazing, and it was actually empowering. But I cried like a baby afterwards. There was
Mm.
something, because there's something about inversions going upside down that might
Yeah.
bring the birthing experience or something.
Yes.
So that
I've
can
done
happen
I've
too.
done the inversion table, so that was
Does that do the
similar.
same thing?
Yes. Yes, it turned you upside down, but you're in a device, so you're not falling out of it unless a
Yeah.
screw comes out of it or something, and then you fall to the floor.
Only
So
your brain
just
would
make
go there.
Yeah, yeah. Just make sure
The screws,
everything's put
you're
together
tight in the
properly. It's funny.
oh,
I was driving yesterday and there I look across and in the park, there must have been 50 moms with their strollers and they were doing yoga in the park with the babies. And my younger sister's with me and she says, "Would you think they'd mind if I honked the horn at this moment?" I'm like, "No, you
don't
don't
do that.
do that." All the
That's the way
babies
your
are
sister's
asleep and the
brain.
moms. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. You should have gotten a picture of that. That sounds
I know.
amazing.
I'll have to take
Oh,
one next time. It was really
yeah.
cute. 50 strollers and the moms got their mats out and it's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes these
Park.
group yoga, like yoga in the park and stuff, weren't we in Atlanta when they were doing yoga in that place right outside our hotel? Or was
Oh
that after
yeah, they
you
were in the
left?
lobby, outside the
Yeah.
lobby between the restaurants. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
was
was
outside
great.
and they did the yoga. They cleared it all and people came after work and brought their yoga mats and
Yeah.
and I think they've been doing that in China and Japan for years, doing Tai Chi and stuff outside the office. And so,
Oh yeah.
we're fortunate that there are so many yoga studios or online yoga now.
Mhm.
But whatever you choose, move. Some
Mhm.
people are not going to be drawn to yoga, and that's okay. But make
Mhm.
sure then you have a personal trainer. You go to a workout class where they warm you up and they do stretching before and after something,
Mhm.
gardening where if you look at kids, they're doing yoga from the time they're born. There's the yoga pose
Oh
called
yeah.
happy baby.
Happy
That's
baby.
exactly what kids do. They grab their toes when they're like, what, 3 months older before they
Oh
can
yeah.
turn over. They're
Happy
grabbing their
baby.
toes. Yeah, and then you look at kids when they're like 1 and 2, they're laying down, they're doing yoga all the time. If
They're
you look
doing
at little
even
children,
puppy, downward dog. Puppies are doing, I just saw a horse doing
cats,
downward dog with his trainer
wow.
on a video. I don't know where I see all this stuff. And I think my grandkids show me. They're like,
Yeah.
look, because they do yoga with me. I throw the mats down and we're all doing different things, but they're just, they just like the word yoga and they like my little studio. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that's great. That's great. Well, I'm glad you asked me about that, Ed, because as you know, it's one of my favorite topics is yoga, and I love sharing it with people. I love teaching it, and we always include it on our retreats. And
Yes.
yeah, I encourage you to try yoga because it's people get these preconceived notions about things and then they're scared to try it. But just look at the description. Go on your YMCA or your yoga studio or your gym and look at the description of the class
Mhm.
and look at the training of the teacher and try it. You can always walk out. Like go in the
Yes.
back, yeah, right?
Yes, I have people that say, I'm a bit embarrassed. Their self-confident, not their self-confidence isn't really high. And they go, I don't know the poses. I don't know. I said, you don't need to. Yoga is just movement. You
Yeah.
watch what somebody's doing and don't push your body in a pose that causes pain. And if
Yeah.
you see someone in a twist, that doesn't mean you can do that twist. It's different for every single person.
Yeah,
So
yoga is a
even
one individual.
yes, it's very individualized, and it's also just kind of even um get on YouTube and check out some of the poses so you actually get familiar with tree pose or warrior, or the names of them, the dancer pose, half moon,
But it's
frog
not
even.
important to know the names. It's like, and that's why it's important to look online or
Hmm.
look or grab a calendar, go to a studio. And because people will ask me all the time, well, can you come if you're a beginner? And it's always surprising to me because I've always taught, I've always had beginner people in different, and I've had advanced people too, but I always have everybody in my class. But then I'll go to a yoga class at like a power studio and I'll be like, oh my gosh, if a beginner walked here, it'd be mortifying. Like they're just calling out the names and expecting people, okay, everybody into down dog, now everybody into warrior one, now warrior two. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you need to explain, but then it usually does say like intermediate class,
Yes,
and
it
then you're
does. Yeah.
familiar by that. So there's go to a beginner's class or go to like more of a restorative, a gentle, or a hatha based class is going to be more, gentle. Or if you're familiar with yoga and, intermediate is fine. So
Yeah,
find what works for you.
I tell people that have they've done yoga in their lives, but they've had an injury and then they want to come back to it again and but their bodies, has some restrictions and I'm like just do a beginner's class.
Yeah.
Just go. Just move your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
You move your body and drink your water
drink your
and your
water
greens.
and let go and let flow. Ease, right?
Support equals release.
That's right. Melt. I love all those words.
All those
So
words in the
gentle,
class.
right? It's so
Yeah.
gentle.
Yeah. Well, that's another deep dive inward, Ed.
Mm-hmm. Great, great, great chat.
Very good chat.
I
Thank
think I'll go
you.
do some yoga now.
Me too.
Love you.
Love you. So until we meet again, be well, be happy,
Be real.
be authentic.
Be kind. Be.